This is Manipur, a small state in northeast India, bordered by Myanmar and surrounded by hills. At the center lies a narrow valley, home to the state's capital, Imphal. At first glance, Manipur appears calm, but for decades, this region has been shaped by deep divisions not defined by borders but by identity. Geographically, Manipur is sharply divided. Around 90% of the state is made up of hills, while only 10% is flat land, known as the Imphal Valley. The valley is primarily inhabited by the Meiteis. The surrounding hills are home to multiple tribal groups, mainly the Kukis and the Nagas. This geographic separation has gradually evolved into a political and social divide. The roots of this divide go back centuries. In the early 18th century, Manipur was known as Kankli Park, ruled by a mighty king, Pamhiba. During his reign, he adopted Hinduism, renamed the kingdom Manipur, and expanded its territory. But after his death, the kingdom has weakened. In 1819, the Burmese kingdom invaded Manipur. What followed was a period of widespread violence and destruction lasting several years. Large sections of the population were displaced and many fled to neighboring regions. This period, from 1819 to 1826, is still remembered in Manipur as the 7 years of devastation. In 1826, the British defeated the Burmese and took control of Manipur. But instead of integrating the region, they governed it unevenly. The valley was administered directly, while the hill areas were largely left to local tribes. But this approach created a structural divide between the hills and the valley. During this period, the communities were formally categorized. The valley population became identified as the Meiteis. The hill communities were grouped into border identities, such as Kukis and Nagas. These classifications reinforced differences in governance, culture, and political access. In 1949, Manipur was formally merged with India. Over time, it transitioned from a union territory to a full state in 1972. However, earlier divisions continued to influence policy. One key example was the land system. People from the valley were restricted from buying land in the hills, while tribal communities in the hills were allowed to buy land across the state. Tensions have intensified. The Meiteis, who form the majority in the valley, have demanded secluded tribe status. This would allow them access to land and protections currently available to tribal groups. But for the Kukis and Nagas, this raises serious concerns. They fear losing control over land in the hill regions and the impact on their cultural and social identity. Over time, these tensions have led to repeated outbreaks of violence. Multiple armed groups have emerged representing different communities and demands. Some seek greater autonomy, others demand separate administrative regions. The result has been a cycle of conflict involving both inter-community violence and clashes with state forces. The situation in Manipur is complex. It is shaped by geography, influenced by history, and driven by competing identities. Understanding this conflict requires looking beyond immediate events and examining the deeper structures that continues to shape it.